The thing that has helped my relationship with Jeff is I stopped blaming him for anything. I changed my reaction to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a part of creatorship. It's literally not saying, well, this is happening to me or this is my responsibility. It's more about how do I respond to it?
Mm-hmm.
How do I respond to someone who is in everybody? We all have our own crap. And, you know, as much as I would love to be in that observer mode or that 0 point all the time, you know, I still have to take a shower. I still stub my toe and we still chop wood, carry water. And sometimes we cut our finger while we're chopping the wood and we want to yell shit. That hurts,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But it is more about, and I think that's what you were talking about, is it's your response, how you respond to it. What you're responsible for is you.
Mm-hmm.
And how you respond to the world at large, even in a one-on-one relationship.
Yeah. Well, I feel like when we start talking about what sovereignty is, what even the observer mode. So sovereignty. So when I speak about sovereignty is taking responsibility for what I create, what I co-create. Sovereignty is about me taking ownership of, even if I ever have felt, let's just say that I have believed myself to be a victim.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I'm 51 years old today. I don't have to choose to be a victim. Even if I would ever for me personally, if anyone knows me, they know that I feel that I created my experiences and that this is a co-creation, and not everyone feels that way. That's how I personally feel.
Yeah.
That's, just from memories that I have of my co-creation coming here. And especially over the last probably 6 months, they've become even more clear to me. But I would say, not everyone's in that space. And even if I'm delusional, let's just say Patricia's delusional and she doesn't know what she's talking about. Well, I can say, well, I am responsible for what happens today. So even if I have been a victim and I have had things that have happened to me that are inappropriate and against my will, today I can make a choice to take responsibility and own what's happening currently in my life. So I don't have to be a victim, and I can choose to do whatever it takes to be a healthy, whole person. When it comes to the observer mode, part of, I share this quite a bit about Patricia just being me and being authentic. And I've really realized how much that's a part of my journey of really wanting to know myself and wanting to have that empowerment. I guess that comes from being in life experiences where you have been abused and you have had parts of yourself suppressed and shut down, and people that could see things going on in your life and know that they should have stepped in, they should have been there to, support you, but never did. You just start to become a really strong person, and or you think you are. You're kind of in survival mode, really. But you realize also you can become a chameleon, because you start to just become whatever you need in every situation in life to be the person you need to be for everybody else, because you don't even know who you are.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's why when I look at myself, I think, well, what do I want the most? I want to know who I am. I want to be who I am. And I can see myself oftentimes as the observer. In fact, that would sometimes I feel like if you looked at a clinical diagnosis in the world of psychology, that would kind of be like a disassociated personality.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It could be. But oftentimes I know I was taught that, like with a client, you don't go straight into their field.
Mm-hmm.
You go up and down. Because when you go up and down, you're not in someone's field. I can feel it when someone's in my field, and I'll shake that off, but if you're going up and looking down, you're not in their field, but you're more objective, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I think of when I think of observer,
mm-hmm.
versus, you're taking your personality out of it. You
Mm-hmm.
still have your personality, but you're not directly going, looking at a situation as being in all the emotions of it.
Yeah. Well, and the reason I've really thought about this a lot, and probably what sparked this thought process for me right now at this particular time, is the election that just took place.
I saw your piece on that. It was really good. Very, very good.
Well, I just woke up one morning and I'm like, okay, I know this is going to be the day. I was like, is this actually the day that we vote? I think it is.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and put something out there, and it may not be something that people really even care to hear, but I just wanted to share it, so I did. And this is what really had me thinking about when they're questioning themselves as an observer, and then someone would look at you as someone with a the disassociated personality. Yeah. I think that's when you look at the way that we're all diagnosed with all these different medical diagnoses for our mental stability. Those are programs that are running to make us feel inadequate, and also, of course, to keep you in the system, and so things that would actually be a part of someone's awareness or awakening can be diagnosed as someone being a psychopath, a sociopath, disassociated, schizophrenic, because if you're tapping into multiple dimensions, that could look like schizophrenia, when someone's just got all these dimensions that are coming through and they don't know how to process it. They don't even know what's happening to themselves because it's happening, but they're not fully aware of what's happening.
Well, clairsentience. I mean, they can be diagnosed as, whatever the diagnosis is, bipolar or whatever the case may be.
Right.
I hear voices.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear voices. They're my own voices. They're my creator self, but they are voices. Mm-hmm. I'm an auto clairvoyant. So I'm sure I listen to the freaking voices in my head.
Yeah.
We have to, but you're right. They've turned that off.
Yeah. And so, but what really came to me about during the election period, so I'll just use this as a great example about how you could look at the observer. So what you said earlier is accurate. Like, we're constantly changing roles. We have the creator self that truly exists outside of this universe, that allowed us to come here and experience this reality that's untouchable. That, that's, for me, I call that my essence. That's just the best way to put it, to where we don't get into heart, spirit, soul, and debate that. So I'll just say essence, the essence of who I am. And so that part of me that created my experiences and that wanted me to come here, it's not having a reaction to what's going on. It's just, that is the observer. It's created its creation, and it's the observer. Now here, in the midst of it all, I'm still that creator, and I'm co-creating with other people. Mm-hmm. And I'm also the actor in what I've created. And so there's times that I'm interchanging roles, and I do see when I'm reactionary or when I'm taking action, when I'm an observer, and I can see how I can go from one role to the other based on what needs to be presented at that moment. And so, for example, in the election, I found myself the observer, because in the past, I would have been the person that was voting, all in it, picking my party, duking it out with my, for my side. And I had all valid reasons based on my belief systems. And in this particular election cycle, I made a decision to not have an opinion whatsoever.
Yeah. Good.
And it didn't matter to me if someone voted or if they didn't vote, because what I realized is that everybody has entered into this universe at different times to experience different things. And there are some people that have belief systems that are different than yours. And if you feel comfortable with who you are, if you feel connected to your soul, to your essence, and you know that you're supporting yourself in the journey that you want to have, then what other people do doesn't affect you. Like if you stop focusing so much on why aren't you voting or why are you voting, and you just do what you need to do for yourself, then you can be that observer. So you're not triggered by someone else voting or by them not voting. And you feel at peace with your choice, whatever it is. And I found myself this time really just wanting to say, I love you no matter what you're doing, because you know what, if you're out there and you believe that you're going to go vote and you're going to change a system, I know that you have a passion in your heart. That is your truth. And you love the planet, you love the people, and you really want to do something. So yes.
Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you are a person that says, I've been doing this for, a half a century, and I'm just so fed up, I haven't seen anything come of it, and I really don't want to agree to the system any longer. In fact, I just want this system to collapse, and I'm waiting for something new to come along. And if something new comes along that I can get on board with, great. I respect that, because you're saying you've put everything you've got into the system. You haven't seen what you wanted, and you actually want to watch it crumble, and you want to go off and focus your attention somewhere else. Then that's what you should do. There is no right or wrong. And I think you and I have talked about this. There is no right or wrong. Yeah, we're all right. There's a universal truth of how the universe was created and how we came here, of course. But what we do in our experiences, everything is movement, everything's vibration and frequency, and everything's flowing and happen, and, the way that it's supposed to. And, for what we're supposed to be experiencing, whatever frequency and vibration that it is that we want to experience at the time, that's what we're doing. And I just feel like that's what, when we start talking about what love and grace is, unconditional love, I feel like that's really what it is. It's when you can say, yeah, I don't choose the path that you're taking, but I really support you in the path that you're on, and I respect the path that you're on. It doesn't have to be my path. You don't have to believe what I believe. Your truths don't have to be my truths. I can still look at what you're going through and have a lot of love and respect for where you are.
If we could stay there in that moment, and that's why, unconditional love on this level is really very, can be in and out. Just like, the Hawkins scale of consciousness, you have 1,000, which is, Christ, the Buddha, it's way up there. It's very, very high, fifth dimensional energies and spirits, and anger, which is about 150 to 174, right around in there. And there are times when I can go way up that scale. I can hit 900, and then something, boom, happens, and I get emotionally triggered, and I'm down to anger, and, I'd love to be in that position, but we're in this world. Things happen. And there are going to be times when people, like you were talking about the voting, where people feel they're passionate. They really want things to change. And that's their way of putting energy behind something to create a better world. And I say kudos to them. And then there are some that just go, you know what? The whole thing needs to come down. I'm not going to participate in this process, kudos to them too, because that's putting energy behind something as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's
well, it's kind of like, it's really, that's what it is. It's what it's, you're living your passion.
yeah.
And so what is showing up authentically? That's the thing. That's what I just keep going to this. Like, if to be authentic means that I'm speaking my truth, that authentic, it is the hardest thing in the world. Like, no one likes to be lied to. No one. And yet the hardest thing for us to do is to be who we are unapologetically.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, we live in a society that, you know, if you're who you are, there's always going to be someone that's going to blame you for their dysfunction. I mean, I don't care where you turn. There's always, oh, it's you. You did it. It's your fault. It's somebody else's fault. Everything is. And that's, you know, that goes back into what we were talking about, and that is being a creator.
Mm-hmm.
No one holds you, or you don't let anybody tell you how you should respond to something.
Mm-hmm.
And when you take that, whether you believe that this is what it is or not, but I like the idea of when you take ownership of everything that's going on in your world, there is more of a ability to respond to life versus a responsibility. You know, it's heavy. It feels heavy. I like all of this to being able to respond. I like the way that feels. I like the vibration of it. So I can, you know, shit can be going on out there. How am I going to respond to that? There's always an imposition. Yeah. There's always some kind of imposition, whether you planned it, whether you created, whether you didn't create it, but there's always someone else's agenda that seems to, you know, fly down in this world. What we have to do is just take ownership of how we're going to respond to it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I feel like, you know, it's true. It's like, there's a lot of cliches, a lot of memes that go around, and, you know, there's truth in a lot of them. And so if you kind of take that on, it's kind of like someone might feel like you've been brainwashed. Okay. You know, that's not something that's really coming from your heart. It's just something that you've heard, and now you're, you know, just regurgitating it. And really for me, it's like, there's some things that really just feel very solid and resonate on a deep soul level for me. And one of those is to be able to communicate what you're feeling. I feel like that's the biggest thing for all of us, is to actually be able to tell our truths and communicate what we feel, how we think. And if we did that and allowed each other respect in what someone's sharing, then we'd all be more open to communicate where we are. So in other words, because I love you and I have a connection to you that goes off planet, that I know my connection with you is through Sirius. And, you know, it's funny because you're like, you know, I shouldn't be here. And I'm like, but you're the one that was pushing me. You're the one that was encouraging me, Patricia, go, go, go. Yeah. And it was almost like, you know, I said, it's kind of like when someone's in an airplane and you're getting ready to, you know, jump out of the plane. And it's like, you didn't want to jump, but you like pushed me out. And I'm like, okay. and I was really saying, can I come back? Can I come home? And you're like, no, you've got this. Go.
You've got this. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, no. And you're like, yeah. And I even remember wanting to come back, and you were not letting me. You're like, it's not time.
Yeah.
And so it's really funny because there was something in you that really wanted me to come. So it was almost like, no, you go. And I'm like, no, I want to stay. And you're like, no, you go. And so it was like this dance that we were doing about who would actually take on the role. And we both, of course, ended up, here we are.
Yeah.
But it was just like, you know, two sisters trying to get the other to do it for them.
Exactly what it was. Oh, you go. I'll go first. You go.
And no. Yeah. And but so like the thing about it is, like, there's a part of you that feels like, you know, there's an imposition that exists that you didn't agree to, and we've talked about that. And then for me, it's like I know that I also played a role in the imposition. So that's where you and I have have our difference of thought processes, but it hasn't changed our relationship. We don't.
No.
Yeah.
Because we're both right. And in any given time, and I've noticed this through this journey, because we had this mind wipe. So right now, everything is about remembering, putting everything back to what we are, getting back to our authentic self is the remembering. So, let's say I sat on that other side. I don't know what it's like to be human and to feel pain. I have no idea. So I might have said, check, I can do that. Check, I can do that. Check, I can do that. I get here and I go, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
I didn't agree to this. Not in this body. This stuff hurts. These emotions, I don't know what they are. And some of them aren't even mine. But it's, so either way, we are correct. And I think if we approach it like, that could be a possibility. That could be a possibility, and say, no, you're wrong. I think we would all expand, and truths. So what was good for me 5 years ago is obsolete now. What helped get me there? There was a time when I was a Christian. It helped promote me to a different level. There was time. We all use these different experiences because sometimes certain things are obsolete and we just move on to something else, and we grow and we grow and we expand. I think it's more expanding our consciousness to whatever's next for us. So I don't like throwing the bathwater out because I think we are all correct. I think that in any given time, things can shift and our spirit of discernment just becomes stronger and stronger. And then you've got how many different, 20, how many billions of people on this planet? They come from different places. I truly believe we've got, galaxies and universes and people come in. This is like this big playground of whatever. For whatever reason we agreed to come here, we agreed to come here. And there might be someone that says something to me today that I resonate with, that tomorrow I'm like, no, I don't feel that. But the big thing is we have to trust ourselves.